And we are back with D-Dot's Producer's Corner with our special guest, Miss Jen. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, and I'm so glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Glad to have you on the show. Hear so much about you.
Aha. So who am I speaking? Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is D-Dot.
Hi, D-Dot.
Nice to meet you. I'm going to let Trey and Rich, I know Rich kind of already knows you. Trey.
Uh-huh.
How you doing, Miss Jen?
I'm good. I'm great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're good. Glad to have you. Ready to pick your brain.
Oh, good. Well, I want to comment on something that I heard you guys talking about while I was holding, is about the one of you said that if you're going to use a live drummer, that you need to make sure that they can play to a click, to a metronome, I believe one of you said. And let me just verify that. I've worked for several years in recording studios, and I saw more bands break up over the inability of a drummer to play to a click than any other reason on the planet. It's really important that the drummer has it together, because if the drummer doesn't have it together, then everybody else is kind of lost. So, yeah, that was I totally agree with that. So what's up tonight, guys?
Well, shoot.
Go ahead, D.
Oh, no, go ahead, Rich.
Oh, no, I was pretty much, we wanted to talk about, just music business and how does it affect artists and producers alike? What are some of the advantages that you can use for social sites and different copyrights and stuff like that for the audience that really doesn't know about Jen, the music maven. She does teach here in Houston at a community college, music business, and she pretty much talks in the class about just the music business aspect, about everything: copyright, licensing, publishing, social, how to gain more interest for your particular music and yourself as an artist and producer by using social sites and stuff like that. So, I brought her on to the show so she can spread some of that good old knowledge to us and stuff like that. So I guess I'll start off with a question, Ms. Jen. I know in the class we pretty much spent about 2 weeks on talking about publishing for artists and how very, very important it is to make sure that you stay on top of that. Just can you reiterate to the audience how important that is and what steps they need to do, real briefly?
Absolutely. It's been said many times, and for very good reasons, that publishing is where the money is. And music publishing, sometimes, if you're not familiar with it, it can be a little bit difficult to get your head wrapped around the whole concept of publishing and how it is that publishers get 50% of royalties, any kind of royalties made on a song sale, or even a performance royalty. But here's the way it works. Let's say, and I'm going to take the example of an independent artist, because I would encourage, if at all possible, maybe up to a particular level, for everyone to keep their own publishing. Let's say I'm an independent artist and I am getting signed with a label. I have a label looking at me. My copyright for my material, the label is going to want me to sign over my copyrights to them, where I own maybe 40% of it and the label owns 60% of it, and my royalties are split up per se as per our contract that way, so that the record company gets 60% of all publishing royalties and I would get 40%. And that would be pretty generous on the part of a beginning artist with a record label.
Right.
What happens more and more, every time you as the songwriter, the song composer, every time royalties come in for music play, music sell, that the part of the publishing royalties are split between the publisher and the artist. Okay, so that percentage has always been historically heavily weighted in the publisher's favor. Now it's becoming more and more weighted for the artist as we have more freedom to call our own shots. We're not so tied to record labels anymore. We can do it on our own. We're not as dependent on big name labels as we used to be because we can make it on our own and we have more choices. And so a lot of times if you go into a record label deal with a label outside of yourself, if you choose to keep more of your publishing income, a bigger percentage than what the label would normally get, they're going to introduce a clause in your contract that says, okay, we're going to give you 60% or 70% of your publishing income and we'll take 30%. But in return, you're going to get a lower royalty rate. And because they've got to make up for that loss of income somewhere. And so in all this one-sidedness for the record label, grows this need and demand for the independent artist to retain more of his publishing rights. Copyright lasts the life of an artist plus 70 years. That's a very, that's a nice long time for you to be able to own all the publishing rights, the copyright to your own material, especially if you write something that is going to be popular for years and years and years to come. It's not just if you're gonna sign over your copyright or a larger percentage than you're comfortable with, you need to make sure that you do it on a short term, maybe a 3-year contract, something like that. But publishing royalties, publishing income comes to the artist from every aspect: performance, sales, concerts, everything that you do, the publisher's going to get half of it because they own, or whatever the percentage is. So why not get that money? Why not keep that money yourself as opposed to giving it to a publisher, or at least keep a bigger percentage? And in the long run, you'll make more money with a larger percentage of your publishing than you would with a less percentage of royalties. Does that make sense?
Miss Jen, you still with us?
I sure am. I really enjoyed listening to him.
Oh, so tell us, what's some of the thoughts you had around some of the things you were saying about marketing for artists?
Everything you said, I would just like to underscore, because in this business, the exact things that he was saying are what everybody who's successful in this business says. It's just a matter of listening to it with the right ears. And I think that the only way that you can really hear what someone is saying is by experiencing it yourself. And you have to go in there and if you want to know what the difference is between a producer and a beat maker, you got to go in as a producer and a beat maker. You'll find out real fast. If you're a beat maker and you want to go in as a producer, you'll find out the difference real quick. But and what he was saying about marketing, I was looking at his website earlier, his live chat thing earlier, and it looks like a great vehicle for marketing. There's so much that can be done today on your own, and he was talking about networking with other people. His site looks like a great place to meet and network with established people. Right away you can look for those guys and make contact with them, and that's what it's all about. And he said, that's one of there's social networking online, but one of the other most important things is getting out there and meeting people face to face and making yourself known in your community. You have to get out there and be a presence online and offline. And like you said, anybody can make a record, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to like it. And one of the best ways to find out is to get it online and get it up and start marketing it, you know, on different social websites, on different distributors, see what people are, you know, what they're saying about it, get some objective input on it, get input from all the experts that you can. If you're not getting good response to your work, there's a reason why, you know, and you need to find out what it is. But we're all in love with our own work, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. So, you know, it gets a little bit difficult. But I like everything that she had to say. He's, you know, hey, he knows where he's coming from.
Yep. One of the things that, you know, I've kind of been talking to a lot of producers about, you know, just in general, starting off the new year, is how important is branding yourself? And we talked, you know, I heard you talk about the whole social network, and I think branding yourself is very big in the aspect of you look around your house, you look at what you have on, you buy it because somebody branded that to your vision. You know, they basically, there's a reason, you know, we buy the things we buy. The second thing is it's all, in my opinion, about reputation, because the way, you know, if somebody would carry themselves a certain way that wasn't, we don't deem appropriate or right or you know, business-like, then you're probably not going to want to deal with that person. I think, and me personally, when I have an artist contact me for beats, I will go on and do something as small as look at their timeline on Twitter or Facebook to see if they're legit about what they do, and then I'll kind of make the decision on starting on it. If I don't see any music or anything, I may not even waste my time.
There you go. Yeah. The first thing you have to have as an artist is a product, and I can't tell you how many times in the course of a day even that I run into quote-unquote artists who come to me, I want you to promote me, you know, blah, 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 but they don't even have a product yet. Well, I'm working on it, you know, and it's going to be out. Well, great, but it's kind of like what Tony was saying. You've made 3 beats and you expect 3 people to like them? I don't think so. You need to get a bunch of work out there before I'm going to promote you, so that I know what it is that you've got, so that I can promote you. Because if I start hyping you and then what you put out there is garbage, then there goes my reputation. Right. You know, nobody's going to listen to me after that. And your reputation, especially in the business end, is your gold. I mean, let's face it, as an artist, you can be a bad boy. You can do whatever you want. If you're good, people are going to love you and forgive you for anything. But when you start making business mistakes that cost other people money, your reputation is at stake, and you're gone. You have to. It's your gold. You have to protect it with everything that you absolutely can. And you know, it's easy to tell who's legitimate and who's not by the first place that you go on, that you can check them out is online. Are they legitimate? What do they look like? You know, what kind of presence do they already have? Everything is all about branding, and it's all about unique branding, unique sound, you know, everything that you want, everything that you present yourself as an artist that you want your audience to relate to is your brand. It's, you know, it's everything, and that's what everything is all about now. It's I don't even like to call it marketing anymore. I really like to call it branding, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's very important, and it's very important to have a unique brand and something that people can resonate with right away. And you know, that's not something that's always easily achieved by amateurs. You know, they may like a certain thing because it's popular, but it doesn't necessarily distinguish themselves from their peers. And so I go on one website after another, independent artists, they all look the same. If something doesn't grab me right away, I'm not going to check it out again. I mean, I'm not going to go any further. And I worked for a publishing company for a couple of years, and it was my job also there to screen music. If I liked it, then it would go further. If I didn't, then I would throw it in a pile with all the other ones. And the 10-second rule, for music applies. If it doesn't strike me in the first 10 seconds for the first 3 songs, it's going in a pile. And online, our attention spans are about as long as lightning bolts. If something doesn't strike us online in about 3 seconds visually or audio-wise, we're gone somewhere else. There's just too many choices. So the importance on being unique and branding is just, it just can't be stressed enough. You can't be like everybody else. You've got to stand out in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's difficult to do, but hopefully you'll do it with your music first.
Right.
So what's a realistic budget to capture the Houston and Dallas music market from a promoter standpoint?
I'm sorry, say that again?
From what's a realistic budget you think would be needed to capture the market in Houston or Dallas, as far as for like a promoter or a record label?
A budget as far as what part of the budget?
Let's just say, for example, to kind of get a little buzz going, maybe on a radio or whatever the case may be. What do you think, budget-wise, would have to be efficient enough?
Budget-wise, it may not take and it would be so much of it boils down to what you can afford and what you can't afford. If you're doing it yourself, then it's not going to cost you a lot. But it's going to cost you a lot of work, and in that sense, it does cost you in the long run, because anytime that you spend promoting, marketing, or anything else, you are taking time away from your art. Like the interesting conversation with Tony a while ago, he's a producer, and you can tell that that's what he does all the time. He's very devoted to that. Anytime you have to spread yourself thinner by promoting and marketing, then you are taking away from what it is that you really want to do to promote yourself as an artist. But it is necessary, especially in the beginning, to be able to do that. But to get on internet radio, to get, let's say, online distribution, to start a social presence, to be in lots of different places, and to get your music out there, I would concentrate on my music, my art, my production, and then I would designate everything to someone else and let them do it. And you could probably get started and stay on track and get a presence started, let's say, on a 6-month commitment for, anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 in a medium range, without going 10 to 20 to 30,000. I mean, you can easily spend that, but it doesn't have to be that much. For example, what my company does is, part of what it does is I am the person behind a lot of people's marketing. I mean, I'm the person on their Twitter, I'm the person on their Facebook. I do all that, but I manage it pretty well. I can send out lots of things at one time like everybody does, but I respond a lot, and it's a job for me. I do it all the time. I do it constantly. I have to do it. You've got to be consistent about being online, and that is what artists can't do because they are working on their art. So that's where I come in. I create it, I maintain it, and it leads to their success. I do film. I'm doing a book and a film deal right now too, but it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah. So co-host, what kind of questions do you have for? I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and get in some questions.
Okay, Ms. Jen, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I had a question about, far as a person, a producer, well, not a producer, a beat maker.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to management, how important is that?
Are you talking about artist management?
No, ma'am. For as a person that has beats that he has that he wants to market to artists, how important is
artists. That? Okay. Well, it depends on. Well, it's very important. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think your question is it important that a beat maker make beats and somebody else manages the business side of it?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Absolutely. The business side of any art needs to be handled, whether it's by the artist or someone else. And the artists themselves can only manage it for so long, hopefully, until they get to a certain point where they're going to have outside help. And so, in my opinion, it is a faster road to success to hire someone else to do the marketing and the management of all that is their field of expertise. It will take you to where you want to be faster, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, you have to have someone to manage all that, and it can get out of hand pretty quickly, especially with the internet and the global possibilities of everything. I mean, the possibilities are only limited by what you have time and money to do, which is really anything. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that's paramount. You have to have that.
Gotcha. And a lot of times, I hear a lot of artists, they get worried about management because they feel that they have to immediately start to pay a manager. Could you please explain to young artists and young producers when it comes to management how that works?
Well, and it depends on what kind of deal you guys get. As a manager, and this is kind of a tricky deal, artist management can be one of the most thankless, least paid jobs in the industry up to a certain point, because a lot of work is done on the premise that, okay, you're going to manage us, you're going to get us to a certain place, and then when we start making money off sales, whatever it is, whether it's beats, productions, whatever it is, then you get a certain percentage. If that never happens and the manager has never been paid, then the manager's wasted or spent a lot of time and effort and a lot of times money on a product or, a person that is never going to pay off. If you start out paying the manager a nominal fee, let's say, okay, I can afford to pay you a monthly fee, something like that, that's very low, and you make a deal like, okay, let's say for 6 months I'm going to pay you $500, but at the end of that 6 months I expect to be at a certain level of success by your marketing efforts, by your management efforts. In a contract, it always states that there are expectations of management and the management's expectations of the artist, and they both have expectations that have to be met. The manager can't manage if there's nothing to manage, if the artist isn't producing something, and the artist can't sell their product if management isn't managing. So they both have to agree to manage to produce both of those things to their best ability. And so the money part can be negotiated in any way, but to expect a manager to manage without being paid for very long is probably not realistic.
Right.
I mean, it would be like you if the same place asked you to come perform over and over again and they never paid you. You probably wouldn't go back too much, but it's most of it is done in the beginning stages on spec, that their abilities are going to get you somewhere. And if you hook up with a manager that's just starting out, but you have faith in him, then they're because he's proven himself in some way, then they're probably going to be very hungry and work very hard to be successful, because if you're successful, they're successful, you know. And so a lot of times that can work out where you don't really have a lot of front money put up, but you guys both make more money in the long run.
Right.
If any of that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. But to expect people to work, you know, for free for very long is probably not going to happen. So in some, you know, it's like any relationship. You have to maybe go through a couple before you find a really good fit, and they have to be passionate about your work. If you have a manager that's not passionate about what you do and doesn't love what you do, you don't need them.
Right.
They're not doing you any good.
Right. So, what kind of shout-outs do you have for us before we exit for the show tonight?
Well, I want to shout out to all my students at HCC and any students that I might ever have there, and to Jen the Music Maven and everybody there. Special shout out to Kayla LeBack. And everybody on Facebook who might be listening tonight. Woohoo! That's my main social media, Facebook and Twitter. Love them. And that's about it.
All right, and how could, you know, artists or producers get in contact with you?
My website is www.jenthemusicmaven.com, and you can just leave me a message there. You can look for me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, any social media site out there. If you Google Jen the Music Maven, you'll find a way. It'll be real easy.